Today I want to show you how to mark a bustle. This dress has a train and she does not want to walk around with the train for her reception. So we're going to mark a bustle. First thing you need to do is have the person stand in the dress at the right length. If you need to hem the dress, do that first and then mark the bustle. But this dress is to the right length. She's not here, but she's got the right shoes in the right length. So the dress is the right length. Now what we're going to do, and this is a traditional bustle. We're not doing a French bustle. That's a different video. The traditional bustle has the bustle come up on the outside like this and be on a hook. Now, I'm cheating because I've already had the client in. I've already marked where I want this bustle. If you're doing yours for the first time, just grab a part of the back center seam, put it up against the waist, and then look down here. So you can see back here. You can see that this is floor length just off the floor. And honestly, I actually like it to be on the floor just a tiny bit. So I'm going to go down one button, up one button to get it to lay on the floor just a little. Yeah, I want it to hit the floor just a little bit. So that's where the bustle is going to be. I've got it marked in a pin. Now, one thing about this bustle, the sides were laying down on the ground like that. And we didn't want it laying on the ground. So we marked a triple bustle, which means we're going to have another hook over here. And it's going to go up like this to get the sides off the ground. So I'm going to do one, I'm going to do two, and I'm going to do the third one over here. But I just can't hold it because I don't have three hands. We are ready to do this bustle, but we have a few things that we need. We need good quality hand quilting thread. Okay, we need a button. We need a hook and a loop for the center of the bustle, which is going to be supporting 90% of the weight. So you need a big, hefty hook and loop. This is a triple bustle. On the other ones, we're going to use these other ones like these. You don't have to use this one for all three because they're not going to be carrying the weight. We're going to use a smaller one like this, and we're going to use two of those. Okay, I've got my needle threaded with 4 threads. Okay, I've got a tiny needle because I need to go in and out of this button several times. It's going to get crowded because I'm going to go in and out with these 4 threads. So I've got a skinny needle with a button. I'm going to tie this button to the bottom of this thread. Just going to granny knot it because I am a granny. Granny knot it in. All right, so this is what we've got, and we're ready to start. We have our pin marking it, and remember that I decided to do it 1 pin higher. So I'm going to blindly stab in here. Now, I say blind because I'm coming from the underside. There's a button down there. I'm going to go back in through the button. You can feel that it's in there. Now all these buttons are going to sag like that. I just can feel it. I know it's going to happen. Yep. So that's one of the downsides to using 4 threads is they're going to get caught on something. I always do this. I just accidentally pulled the button. So I'm just going to, don't be afraid of this mini string problem. We're good. Now, why do I use a button? I do not want the thread to pull through and make a hole. That would be a failed bustle. So I wrap it around the button so that it will not fail. Okay, the worst thing in the world would be a failed bustle on your wedding day, right? So we're going to go back up through the button. And now I'm going to start to attach the loop. But let's think about this for a minute. We'll do the hook down here. First I'm going to take this pin out. And then I'm going to secure this hook here. Since I have 4 threads, I only need to go in and out like 3 or 4 times. I have my hand under there so I can feel I'm going through the button. And as I pull, I'm going to make sure this does not get caught on anything, which is the source of all frustration. Okay, try number 2. We're going to put this loop down here because this will fit better between the buttons. So I've got my thread underneath. It's tied, the button is tied on it. I'm going to go under here. We're doing it right here. I'm going to get 1 stitch in first, and then I'll go back in down through the button on each side, and then we'll put the loop in. Keep your finger in. Fussy. So much better. Okay. All right, I don't like how that's sitting. I want that to sit more underneath the button because I want it to lay flat. So we're going to go down here just a little bit. I'm going to take out, yes, this is my left hand and I am super uncomfortable again, but you've got to be a little bit ambidextrous. Here we go. This is going to go under that just a little. That does open up. Try to do that and get it to go. I want it to go under and around the stem of that button. But not too much, because there's got to be room to pick it up. Let's try going around the back of the button and see how that works. Go down through this hook loop, through the button, underneath. There we go. I like it. It's laying down flatter. I'm going to secure that in the front and behind the button. This looks really good. If you can see that, I'm going behind that stem, in front and behind that stem button, and that looks really good. And it feels strong. I'm just going to do that about 4 more times. Okay, now we're ready to put the hook up here. I'm not going to do the hook on the button side, right? We know that because of what we did earlier. It's too wide to fit in between those buttons, even though it's convenient. So we're going to put it over here, all right? Now I'm not going to put a button on the end of this. You see how there's no button? We don't need a button over here because we have zipper tape, we have lining, and we have dress, and this doesn't need a button. There's also a tape for this elastic stuff. So I'm actually going through a lot of layers here that's going to be really strong. I'm between layers. You see how I'm not on the back. I'm not starting on the back. I'm starting between the lining and the dress just because we want secret layers on everything. And where's her waist? This is the waist. This is where we're going to. I'm going to try to hide this kind of like right there. I'm going to hide it just a little bit in that pleat. So first I'm going to come out in the right spot, which is right there. And something is getting tangled on the inside. I want to sew at the very top of this so it won't slip down later, right? Yes. And I also see, look, there's the seam, and that's going to make it stronger if I can sew it just into that seam. So we're going to try it. Keep a finger in this so that it doesn't get tangled. Now because I went higher on that second side, it's ski-wampus. So I'm going to fix that right now. There we go. That's the right spot. I'm just going to pull it through and then I'm going to put it in that loop. Alright, that looks really good. So I'm just going to go in and out of this 3 or 4 times. I'm also going to go over the bottom of this 3 or 4 times, and I'll show you when it's done. I want to show you what I did inside of here, if you can see. So you see how I gotta have a pointer. I did over this, I did over the top of there, I did in between, but I also did from the top down. You do this so that it won't move, so that it won't slide down with weight, okay? You need to do all of these things so that that won't move and that it's secure. It will hold a dress that can be 15, 20, 30 pounds. We are ready to do the side hook and loop for this bustle. I have one marked, and the other one I'm just going to measure and match on the other side. It's always a good idea to mark it along. There's usually a seam coming out, and you can usually mark it right there. This is gonna go up, and we're gonna do it right underneath that, and it'll be hidden. So to secure this on the back and to not allow the stitching to pull and make a hole, we're going to secure it with some scrap fabric. Okay, this is just a piece of something I cut off. You don't want to cut it square. You want to cut it on the bias so that it won't fray. Okay, I'm going to cut a little 1.5 by 1.5 inch square-ish. Don't measure, just do it. All right, and then I'm going to fold it into a smaller square like this. Okay, then I've got my needle, and I'm going to put just a big stitch in here to keep it how I want it. I want it to stay like that. All right, and now I have, oh, see what I did? Now I have something that's going to secure the back of this dress to make sure it doesn't tear through. And I'm going to start with my loop because I want to be consistent. I did a loop over on the bottom of the dress over here, and I want to also do a loop over here. I've got my thread, I've got my reinforcement, and now I'm going in underneath here to where my pin is. I'm going up. Okay, so I have a choice right here. I can feel that the seam is on this side. And so yes, go to the side with the seam. It's going to be stronger. If you're going through more layers, it's going to be better. So I'm going to go right to the side with right there. Okay, I'm also going to take this pin out. It's a lot easier with your right hand. And I'm going to sew in my loop. Now the thread will come out of the top of that little loop, so I got to make sure I'm holding it in the right spot. Putting my hand underneath, holding that there with my thumbnail, which every seamstress must have a decent thumbnail, because that is one of my best tools. Okay, I didn't get to hold it there, but we're going to see if this will work. Okay, yep, this did exactly what I expected it to do, because Murphy's Law says if it can go wrong, it will go wrong, right? Murphy's Law. It came out of that second-sided loop. So before I pull it tight, I'm going to have to put it back in there. Okay, look at that. So that is what it's going to look like. And yes, it interrupts the dress. It interrupts the dress, and it's going to be kind of obvious there, but it won't show in the photographs. It's easier when there's lace, and you can put it on top of the lace and it won't be shown. But most of the time this dress is going to be bustled. The only time it won't be bustled is when she's walking down the aisle or doing photographs. So honestly, no one's going to see it. All right, I'm going to show you the final result of the off-center bustle hook and loop. Here is the loop, and here's what the underside looks like. I just want to show you really quick. It's been anchored and supported by an extra piece of fabric. Very important, right? Up here, look at that. We got to hide that hook underneath there. Did a lot of double stitching into the waist, so I know it's supported. Okay? And then I'm going to just do the other side, the same measurements on the other side.